Okay. For some reason, I always want to hit stop streaming to transition to let's that down. Let's get that down. Yeah, okay. Okay. Everything working sound wise. Yep, we got that. Okay, so we are hitting an issue with serialization in or deserialization in the outbox of the integration event. So I made the change to include the source user identifier. And now all of a sudden this is totally balked, but it was already including an event source. So I'm not sure why that did that. So let's go and construct it again. So we have that. Integration event, I don't think matters. Hello, SageEF. SageAF. How's it going? Thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's include that. An event, I think, is just, yeah, it's an internal. Yeah. So that's include. I'm just going to include the full stack of things. Starting your game dev journey. Nice. Any tips learning C#? I mean, I would say you need to stay simple, build on top of your skill set as you go. Like, don't try and copy too much code. Don't try and, watch tutorials or demos and just take their code too much. Make sure you're kind of firming up your knowledge as you go. Especially with game dev, it's very easy to want to get ahead fast because you want to see results, and results aren't always quick or easy to work out. So I normally do application development, but I have been doing some game dev on stream, and um, yeah, I like gaming too. I love my games, but yeah, game dev is a very different beast. So it's a little bit more intricate, and there's some quirks to it, in terms of like where information goes, where things go. So just take your time, have fun, build things small, so you get that adrenaline, not the adrenaline, the dopamine of completing something. So build like a little one screen game, and don't start with the big things. Keep getting those wins on little things until you're comfortable working on bigger things, and you'll know when that's going to be. I'm going to take my game addiction and turn it into coding for others to enjoy. Absolutely. I think the best games, the best software comes from those that actually care about what they're doing. Create the tutorial predicting Godot. It was a big dopamine rush. Yep, yep. I've been doing some Godot stuff recently. Right now, I've got to focus on some application stuff, um, and yeah, the successful feeling is definitely energizing. Okay, so let's try. How am I gonna? I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to copy this as a file. Otherwise, this is gonna go very wrong. So I'll do d temp. Good day, Mr. Jones. Thank you very much for the look. And Delta, good morning. Event.json. Huh, fair point. Okay, so I got the event. So now over here, consent equals file dot read all text. The dev tab event.json. Send that development. Let's make sure that it's reading there. Yeah. D. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hey, Patrick, how's it going? Do you think it's possible to land a job when I keep building my portfolio up versus getting a degree? I have 3 years of IT experience right now. Helped us get community college and now as an NLC engineer, but not coding specifically. I mean, it's possible, definitely. People do it. I think it's a personal choice as to whether you want to do the schooling path or just try and work and get that role. The degree can open a door that, you know, you have to trust that a potential employer is going to look at your portfolio. So you got to work on that. So you start barking dogs. As you're getting kicked out. So yeah, sorry, I got 2 little dogs that are like walking on my feet. Yeah, it is possible, definitely. I don't have a degree, but I've been doing this for a long time. Um, games show. I think with games you're able to show a lot more than with something like this. Yeah. How goes the development lately? I haven't been able to swing by stream too much lately. Goes really well, generally. Recently made some changes to get so I've got the onboarding of the users configured. So when you want to add a new user, you can go in and add them. It sends them an email. They click a link. They go through and complete the registration. So that's now working. So the user registration is working. So I'm moving slowly towards that notifications world. Right now, I've just gone. Yesterday, I did a pass of adding in, realizing that I need to know who changed something is kind of fundamental. And I missed how to do it. So I kind of did a pass of putting that in the system. I'm just suffering the consequences of one of those events right this second. But overall, it's been going really well. I'm at the point where I'm going to start focusing on those notifications, which is a huge component of what I want to do. Made the changes to the Angular application to support multiple GraphQL providers, multiple. So everything now goes through the API gateway. So GraphQL goes through the API gateway, the WebSocket goes through the API gateway, and all the requests go through. So I've been able to configure the environment. So now I can have a development environment with all the right pieces and everything just goes through it. I don't have to have hard coded strings in the application. And yeah, now can support potentially, let's see if this opens up. So now as we go through and build this, the view component has a GraphQL piece, but now I can have the communications component have a GraphQL piece, and the client is transparent to the client. It just goes and gets the communications piece. So I can break up the application into multiple APIs with responsibilities, and have the API gateway deal with that routing. So it's going well. Yeah, your first few jobs might be rough, but you definitely can get into this industry or even game dev specifically without a degree. If possible, though, I'd encourage you to go to local meetups and network as much as possible. Yeah, that is a big thing. Like making sure that people know know you can kind of open some doors for you. So if you can find hackathons and meetups and get yourself a good reputation, then that's really solid advice, I would say. I'm doing a similar modularization with my code base at work. Nice. Nice. This is feeling very constructive. Like it's feeling like it's heading in the right direction, and I like that feeling. Because it means that even if it's wrong, it's still something I can change. Networking seems to be the power move. Yeah, it's hard these days with so much online stuff, but I would definitely say that's very solid advice. Hey, Expanded Cuba, how you doing? Welcome in. Okay, so let's try and do this. Diagram separation by domains, not necessarily by domains. It's a little bit of both. It's just kind of helping me visualize. Um, because I'm a huge extrovert. There you go. So you're comfortable with that, yeah. Door-to-door sales, absolutely. I think you have to grow a thick skin. Yeah, it's not really aimed at being any sort of domain diagram builder. It's mainly aimed at trying to identify kind of workflows and data flows through the system, so I can kind of visualize. Because I still have this component still is kind of, actually I probably should. Can I can't do it on this one. I can. Yeah, that's kind of that that doesn't exist yet, and I'm still torn on how I do notifications specifically, whether changes feeds into communications or changes feeds into notifications, and notifications is the one that figures out what notification is and sends it to the right communication channel. As much as I doing good, couldn't sleep, so I'm coding instead. That's I would be lying if I said I'd never done that. Much as I hate I quit my job as an ex, and after 6 months worth of Google videos, the common thread is definitely that they network everywhere and shake hands with any person who has one. Making sure you can like do that is a useful thing. Posted the article, Miracle Tonic would have prevented CrowdStrike. I enjoyed it. Nice. I'll take a look at that afterwards. Um, this is Obsidian is the tool I'm using because it's got markdown notes, and then this is Excalidraw plugged into it, Obsidian. We can thank Mojo for this advice. But I've been enjoying doing this. Hey, Fortunable, how you doing? So let's see if we can get this to bar uh, EBT. I'm not answering. JSON serializer dot deserialize find item integration event content. Uh, it works. What I'm enjoying right now is because obviously I was enjoying using it Scalidraw previously, but now I can put my notes with it, and I've got my drawings, so my workflows, the pieces, all these things are here, and then I can use these. Um, like I've got a standards document and stuff. I've built that, and I'm trying to show data flow. So as I'm trying to document the system and make it understandable, I can share that. Yeah. So it's a good balance of I can drag these diagrams in and I can reference these diagrams in here and still write something uh, friendly. Um, yeah, no real handwriting. Yeah. Okay, so this is caused by so event source maps perfectly fine. Why does that break? Well, that should be that. That shouldn't be anything else. Must bind to an object properly. Property or field in deserialization. Each parameter name must match with the property or field in the object. Match name can be cases. I feel like I'm missing something here. Because if I do that, put it back to how it was, right? That works fine. Oh, you know it doesn't. Check that object. Yeah, that doesn't really work. Let me have a look at the deserialization part. Kafka extensions. See if I'm doing anything special on the other side. I'm not taking rabbit hole for school. I'm sitting came out top because it has the best support. I haven't even used it cross-platform yet. I'm just like I'm enjoying using it as I am on the stream. It helps me diagram and document, and if I'm making notes, it all sticks together. Kafka outbox. So serializer options. So I mean that's the only option that I've got embedded there. So that's um okay, that does that better. Rabbit hole reason. So okay, so what I'm validating is that I'm seeing the right behavior for everything else. So if I do GUID source user identifier here, we get that there. We get that error. Each parameter in deserialization constructor on type must bind to an object, property, or field. Oh, I bet I know what it is. It's the fact that I made that nullable. Start taking lots of notes soon because I have a multi-thousand line code base for a multi-part program that I need to have technical manual and user manual for in December. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the challenge there is I was trying to hedge my bets on that part. So if I do that and I remove that and remove that, does it still build? Is there events that I can't provide that for? Yeah. Huh. 1500. Sorry. It's kind of in 1500. I'd be blessed with. Um, Notes I was into OneNote is very cool when it came out. MS hasn't invested too much in it over the years. Yeah, OneNote was good. Um, I like OneNote because I could use. I had the Surface, and I could scribble in it at the same time. Okay, so let's not aim for a 65,000 line class, eh? So no short way to build a quest system is a JSON text file to outline the quest rules and requirements. Uh, Still, what I'm doing. Go the long way. Wow. Hard limit of IL code size of a class. Dang. I didn't. That isn't friendly. So all of these should, in theory, have the source user identifier. No, not in theory. They all should. They're integration events. They all should. The challenge is when I don't have a user, I'm going to have to somehow. I can still provide an empty GUID, and that can indicate a system user, but it's like that feels messy. Magic Gnome, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Runtime by Spark in some situations, one could hit cases where these generated classes hit the limit. Often try tricky to bug fix, debug and bug fix. Hey, my Streamlabs thing's working as well. Nice. Now I remember why I turned off Streamlabs noise. Um, Source user identifier. So that fixes the integration event if I do it that way, right? But it doesn't really fix it. Um, this is just breaking everything now. The entire code is just tickets. Can't avoid it. I have to do it. Okay. He knows everything. To do Department of Defense subcontract and building an intelligent coaching system for the US Navy to help train ship captains. Basically, a video game quest. Wow. All good. No, it was perfectly understandable. No need to apologize. Um, okay, so basically, Um, he's not making super shady missiles or something like that. So um, so basically now I need to go through everywhere where I've just broken by doing that refactoring and fix that the user is not passed through. So let's go start here. So this is throwing up here because the attachment created has the attachment integration event now needs an extra parameter. But this notification, this domain event, is what actually needs the because now we need source user identifier, right? So now if I do this, I can do a notification dot source user identifier. But now that breaks down here because I've got a knock-on effect, right? Can't show much, but yeah. So now when we create this, luckily we have a created by user ID in here, so we can just do that. And that fixes that one. The fact that the test didn't break suggests that I've got missing tests, so that's an indicator. And I just need to repeat that effort basically. So now if I do project created, and I do GUID source user identifier, I can go back to this one, tack on notification dot, right? So that'll fix that one, but break another one. Tenant user was registered, so same thing. GUID source user identifier. Now some of these might not actually be very quick to fix, but that's going to have to be the cost of doing business. This is includes source user on the event, so this is valid to do this way. Uh, if I was doing this the fully right way, then I might want to be writing the unit test first and doing all that. But I think that will slow me down in a way I don't want to be slowed down in a second. So, and also from the stream perspective, I'm trying to get to the code. So let's just assume that's going to be there in a second. Identifier. You'd think I know how to spell that by now. Tenant user was registered. GUID source user identifier. These are just records that carry. So I am pushing the problem down the line, right, by just doing this because the actual code is going to break with these events. Notification dot source user identifier. User created notification. Actually, yes, it's still required. String GUID source user identifier. I think they're not required, so we're going to remove them because I think in this integration, yeah, in the integration I pulled the name out anyway. So there's no need for me to pass that information in. I'm not using those integration events in that way. Okay, so now the application works. The test fails because now it's expecting that to have yeah. This is testing the integration piece, publishes the message we expect. Plus, like the US Navy Officer School has a million pictures from the no phone allowed part of the base showing off the ships having been used by all kinds of people. So even if I'm not allowed to brag about a system I rebuilt from scratch and optimized in under a year, there's a lot of Facebook pictures of theirs that need removing. Do as we say. So let's make this test pass because that bugs me. Let's start from the top. Kind of way down. So what I'm validating here is the event is published, so we do need to validate and x.source user identifier equals not assignment. Do we remember how coding works today? Come combine me. Oh no. We can see sharp file we have in our repo is 270,000 lines, but that is a generated GQL client. I was gonna say, please tell me that's not actually a real thing. Yeah, and that is my official statement to whatever NSA bot in here is watching. They're always watching. Like to me, having like a large class file these days is maybe several hundred lines. Most of my class files in here, if we're talking individual class files, depending on how I organize, are probably like 20 to 30 lines. They're doing single things. They're working pretty effectively. Period. I need to pass this down to this event. This is one of the things I don't like about this style, right? Because now I've just passed a parameter into this create method solely for the purpose of creating the event, and it's not a response. It's not even dealt with by the project. Doesn't care, right? You want the initializer ignored during initialization. Oh, because it knows it's been set. That's fine. That's a memory thing. Yeah, possible. Sure. I think I have a nearly 3K line file, but it's the most non-dry part and a result of needing to get it done, not having the time to do it right anymore. Hence the refactor now. Again, 3K. I'm trying to keep everything separated and organized as best I can, though, so it keeps the long counts down. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, this is going to get messy. Grid source user identifier. This is not what I wanted to kind of. I'd prefer to use some form of AOP here to kind of attach this to the context of the event, the domain event, but I don't have that information. So for right now, this will work until I figure out better design. I'm very fresh into my dev career, and my main responsibility is adding features to a 12K file. Let's see, yeah. Separation concerns. That may be a quote. So services wise, registered tenant service now needs to do tenant create, which means that this needs to know GUID source user identifier. The reason I'm sticking with source user identifier, I'm not trying to name anything different, is because I'm consistent. I understand what source user identifier means. It's who did the thing. I'm not adding any confusion or adding any extra pieces on there. It's allowing me to keep everything kind of moving in the right direction. So here, yeah, GUID. Now we move the challenge up again. Source user identifier. So I apologize if this is kind of repetitive and not very interesting, but it is kind of necessary. My system needs to tell me who made the changes, right? So the only way I'm going to do that is by passing the user around in some way, shape, or form. I don't have the structure in place to kind of inject it or have context because I'm disconnected. When I actually publish the actual integration events, I'm disconnected. And I also don't know who did the thing. I could try and create a last updated by user column and then pull that at the time I pull the record out for serialization. It just, it would be a lot more magic. Um, I'm scared of that. Look, we've got to get ready for work. No worries, my job. Thank you very much for the look. Biggest file I found that is handwritten is about 3,000 lines. Disappointed that was it's in at least 10K. The problem is you don't handwrite that much. Those files are added to over time. That's the where does this go? Oh, we'll just put it here. Oh, it should. Let's just put it in there for right now. It's kind of related to that thing. It's justifications that create those sorts of files, not well justifications when you're a bunch of developers who understand how to build the code that way. It's normally like lack of time or trying to fit something in and you're not understanding how to redesign the system a bit. If you're new to development, it could be just not understanding how to break code out and then just letting the design flow. I ran a couple of hundred lines before when I was writing notebook programs in high school during the classes. Big switch statement and lots of implementation for these commands. Yeah. And oftentimes hindsight gives you like hindsight's great, but yeah. Okay, so GUID, source user identifier. Even if you split it into lots of files, you still have to write 3,000 lines. Yeah. Realistically, it's the cognitive that's the thing you're focused on. It's not workflow parameters. Oh. I have a chicken and egg. I can't do that one. That one's absolutely impossible. Why didn't I think about that? I personally have no problem with this file. Straightforward to read, easy to follow. So, yeah, no need to change it. I'm an idiot. That one can't. That one can't do that. This is going to be a new use case. So the source user identifier is absolutely impossible to add on an event that is created before you have a user. Right? Tenant was registered. So that's a challenge. Um, that can't have that. I'll tell you what, primary constructors, I'm really starting to appreciate more. I like the I like the design. Um, that's readable. Yeah. So, hmm. So the reason I'm pausing is I'm starting to believe that if I find this sort of situation where I need to load extra information, then the likelihood is I probably need some sort of service to wrap it up because it's now getting to the point where it's no longer just a straight shot. Do this now, do this now, do this now, do this now, do this. It's way more involved with that. So user registry service, right? I switched out in my workflow. I switched out I use a user registry service um, to do register user with provider. But I'm thinking that this is kind of domain behavior in that I have to say, okay, well, now I have a user, I have a tenant user, I want to associate them. And these aren't necessarily easily as commands anymore because they're kind of interrelated. The problem is I've created something called the user registry service. If I do it that way, this starts to feel like I'm just tugging a bunch in that code together, right? So right now, create user is a command that creates the user if it doesn't exist. This feels useful. But now to do this, again, this is another one. I'm creating a user, but at this point, I don't necessarily have a user because, yeah. So like in this instance, there's a empty GUID, right? But that's not that. That's not the responsibility of that to do that. That should be that. Because in the other workflow, in this workflow, I do have that information, right? Um, I have that. So when I do that, I can do that. That works for right this second. Associate user with tenant. Um, Again, it's GUID.empty. Do that. Do GUID. I think as long as the actual thing isn't making the decision, the thing that's invoking it should know. Um, so Yeah, so this one has parameters that originate in user identifier, right? So I know that this one is going to work. Okay, so we're starting to get there. It's not the end of the world. Projects post. Hey Dan, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. You find me in refactoring mud right this second. Get user identifier. Yeah, we have to be logged in to be able to do this. I brought some smart people with me. Thank you very much. Thank you for the raid. Appreciate it. Hey, two nerdy nerds, how you doing? Yeah. So I'm building this platform, and I've realized that this may seem stupid. This may seem kind of obvious, but basically, I've realized that I need to know who changed things. So I'm kind of having to go through my system and add all the entries, add all the right user identifiers. We just added audio to share the playlist with. Oh, nice. I had to stream up, but I didn't get to listen to it. So my apologies. Well, thank you very much for that. That's so that game's coming along. That's awesome. Did you use the audio that Two Nerded Nerds provided, or did you record your own? Ah, because that effect, I was trying to describe the effect that you were playing with the other day with the like the thought with a bit of, I don't know how to describe that effect. So that's cool. That's awesome. That's coming along though. Tenant user registered event is in queued. Um, private read only period. So I should identify, so that's there. And then that should have oh, you can't do that. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Now it'll stop whining. Or not. Ugh, whatever. Um it gives the right to feel into the game. So it's had to make Ghost voice on YouTube and it worked out. It's very simple. Reverse audio, add reverb, reverse audio, done. Nice. Dan is developing his first game. It's coming along really nice, and I'd recommend following. So it's really nice to see the evolution of the game of like when I first joined your stream, there was blocks moving around, and now you've got the effects in there, you've got the shaders, and it's just seeing that evolution is really kind of cool. Um, yeah, I just got to get things like this figured out so I can get back to doing some fun stuff. Can't do that. You have to do that. Can't have a constant GUI because the way it's structured underneath, it's structured underneath. Surrounding myself with great people. Yeah, it's this is the fun part of Twitch. Saying to there's Seishi earlier on in the stream came in and asked about development and game dev and stuff, and my advice was to make small things and get the dopamine hit from success, and it's amazing how that can keep driving you forward. And that's kind of why I've said I'm going to focus more on getting this platform to a place right now, because I hit a point last week where I was grinding at it. I was trying to do a lot of stuff. But when I saw it work and it all came together, my idea, this flow became reality, and and then my vision for what could come next appeared. Like it all of a sudden seemed feasible again, whereas before it seemed like I might be heading down a bad path or I was struggling too much. And yeah, that dopamine hit can do a lot for you. So seeing success, seeing growth, seeing forward progress is rewarding. And I think that's why when we do agile stuff, I think that's another benefit of doing it the right way. When we're developing software, if developers can see results and they don't see just like if you're doing this sort of stuff for months on months, and I know that it's not very stream friendly to be doing what I'm doing right now because I'm just jumping around and no one can carry context, but it's necessary work, and that's what I'm trying to show. But if you can see a result in 2 weeks time, or you set yourself a time period and you make that result happen, the reward will help carry you forward as well. So I think it's not just about getting code done. W's is what keeps you going, so you need to plan to maximize motivation. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to fix all these tests by um, doing this, and I might find that none of the tests pass. If the tests pass, even though I've changed the signature, then I'm not testing this field anyway. So yeah, no, read only, period. No. So there you go. Please write my code for me. Don't try and think for yourself. Oh no, yeah, you can't need that one. Uh, Validation passes. There's no need for that to be my arrange act style. Absolutely no need. There's no benefit in doing it that way. Arrange act. So yes, I am using Copilot. Yeah, not sure how much I want to be using Copilot anymore. Some days it's more frustrating than it is useful. I miss using Copilot for game dev. Yeah, project create returns. Okay, this one is a little bit more. I didn't want to deal with the stigma surrounding it on stream, but maybe I'm overthinking it. So it depends on how you're using it, right? I consider like if it's suggesting a big chunk of code to me, I might fill it in, but I'm still validating it, right? I'm not having it write the code for me. Um, the I think the benefits. How do I put it? Sorry, I just went a little bit dizzy. Um, some people are aggressively allergic to it. Yeah, yeah. I get why it's contentious, but to me, I kind of think of it as a better Stack Overflow, right? It's giving me more pertinent or close suggestions and getting me on the path. Sometimes it's giving me enough context to actually understand an API better. Sometimes it just makes stuff up to please you, but you've still got to be a better developer to understand why it's not working, right? There's, again, like Stack Overflow, the samples aren't always real. Boring guy, hello, how you doing? Welcome in. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna say if all my problems gone away. Absolutely not. Let's run these tests and see if that'll actually build independently. It might not do. No, it doesn't want to do that. Okay, so this one can't have a source user identifier. And it never can because there is no source user. I am the first user. So for me in game dev, it helped a lot with math and socket math. Yeah, I think that's any tool you use like that. If you're not learning from it, then you're not using it correctly. It shouldn't be there to do the job for you. It should be there to help prompt you to go forward and do something. It might introduce you to a piece of code you never knew existed. It might introduce you to a method or a style that you didn't think about before, but now it's shown you it. Understand that code. Don't just move on from that code. It's helping prompt you forward, and I think that's the thing. It can help you learn if you would use it correctly, but if you're using it to do it for you, then you're using it incorrectly. Um, yeah, I mean that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for that's worrying. Okay, I probably need to. Well, no, it's not really worrying because I'm missing it, but I do need to do a passive unit test. I just don't want to be doing that on stream right now. I'd like to get to this working. So I've created this problem because I've forced the need to have a source user identifier on a default event. So when you create an event, so there's two types of events in the system. There's a domain event, which publishes internally and allows me to react to changes in an individual component of the system. And invariably, they'll publish an integration event. They'll trigger another object being published to Kafka for an integration event. Integration events carry the data, the stateful data of this entity, and those events can be consumed by whatever needs to use that data. So in my diagram here, like when I add a planning item, that planning item publishes a Kafka event, the view consumes the event, and the changes consumes the event, and the changes determines, oh, have I seen this object before? Yes, I have. No, I haven't, etc. And does some work to publish further events to say, here's what changed, by the way, about this thing. So the idea is that this will allow me to say, okay, this person changed this person changed this. So now I can, with the source user identifier on there, I can identify who did stuff. Monotonics, hello, welcome in. Yeah, seen Magnetonics before. Game developer building a Temtem Star game, I believe is the right term. I haven't played that game, so I'm not sure. But shout out. Ah, there's an underscore. What's your inspiration to become a programmer? Hi Zev, how you doing? Um, what's my inspiration? So I suppose the thing that started me off was when I was a kid. I got a VIC-20 when I was 5, and I like the idea of writing the games. So I'm a child of the 80s. I um, you know, in the UK at least, the personal computer scene involved all sorts of different devices, all sorts of different options. You know, Commodore, but your Ataris and your Spectrums and your Amstrads and stuff. And there was a lot of personal computing stuff back then. So there's a lot of a big scene around building your own games, at least in the UK. Um, and I kind of let it drop for a while. And then when I was in college in the 90s, I was doing a robotics course and a assembly programming course as part of an engineering study. And I realized I didn't like the engineering part, but I did like the manipulating things and building things part. And that kind of reignited the desire to become a programmer. And yeah, you have early access to comp by then. Not really. No, we got hand-me-down computers. Yeah, I dropped an engineering program 3 years in. Ooh, I didn't even make it out my first year. So, and it wasn't a degree; it was a qualification. But I've had to still go on to get the degree stuff. Okay, so let's fix these. So now this is going to have uh notification source user identifier. Took me a little while to realize I didn't like it. That's pretty cool. I didn't make it past the first semester. I didn't. I suppose I didn't make it past the first semester. Uh, Period. Source user identifier. Well, let's do this. Let's wrap this up. There's no point in having that. That having that. It's immutable anyway. Yeah, don't even need that. What? Oh, yeah. Lasted a year and a half here. Just felt it was too much doing. I just wanted to code fun stuff. It, it's a trend. A lot of engineers really don't like engineering after they've done it with their degree. Just fun being able to manipulate the most used things in the world all the time. I enjoy I enjoy building things for certain. I enjoy um uh, I was saying this to Mojo yesterday. Um I honestly think that what we do can change someone's lives for good, for bad. If you build a game and it puts a smile on someone's face when they were feeling down, you've changed their life, right? If you build an application that helps someone do a job easier, or you build an application and you screw it up, you could change their life negatively just as much as you could change, because you could change their entire day or their entire week, right? By making something easier, by making something harder. And I think that's why I try to take pride in what I do, because I think it is realizing that just it's not just software to someone else. That, like, if I build this tool and I get it to the point where it's exactly where I need it to be, right? I've got this tool where I'm allowing people to plan things and get data. I could change an organization's way of gathering requirements. I can and change the way that people interact over talking about software, right? Um, there's an oil field to finance pipeline I've been noticing. So I think it's worth considering when you're writing your code, when you're building your software, when you're building your game. Um, if you want to share that, and I think we all kind of do, we all, whether we're building application or game, we all kind of want to show off a little bit. We all want to say, here's the thing we produced. Look, I made a shiny thing, right? Um, you should take pride in that and realize that, you know, that might be the highlight of someone's day. They play that game, it puts a smile on their face, or a little sound effect in a game makes them smirk or whatever. It can change their mood. It can change everything about their day. So yeah, I think that's the thing that I love about this thing that we do, no matter what we're doing. And it might sound a little pretentious and uh, kind of arrogant, but I think it's true. So, and that's kind of what I latched onto when I was in college and I was looking. I was doing robotics, I was doing engineering and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is fascinating! I can do this." Right. Seribot, thank you. Those cheap viewers don't even get a chance. I will say Seribot has actually been a good addition, I think, so far. Um, they're removing those cheap viewer things straight away, and it bans them. Okay. See, I kind of prefer that. Um, that goes there. So I kind of put it into the thing, the thing that is the thing. Sorry, I'm just um I put into Streamlabs bot to post the message in the chat routinely. But if you are watching the stream and you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free. This isn't a sit there. It's not. I do like the interaction. I don't mind the discussion. I think that might be ticket. No, user identifier. That is the creating user identifier, I believe. I think. I think that is source user identifier, but it's a ticket. I don't really need to stop on this for too long. I believe one usage handles are added by user. Yeah, yeah, that's an example of why you should name things better. So what I should have done there, that should have been added by user ID identifier, right? That should be that. That should be that. Now that reads easier. Now I understand why that field's there. It's not just a user identifier field. That's a positive addition. Underneath, I can still store it that way, but I mean added by user identifier. So realistically, what I should do is modify that later. But tickets are not functional yet. There's a lot more to review on tickets. I just need the application to build. So tenant user, private read only period, source user identifier. Do that. Goes there. Okay. So the fact that I've changed all those tests and nothing's broken is that means that my tests are fragile because I've changed my tests and I changed the code and nothing broke in the tests. That's a bad sign. But in the name of moving forward on the stream, I'm going to continue rather than get stuck in that hole. The reason I'm confident about that and not leaving it behind is I know that the way the software is built, I can go back and refine pieces. I can tidy pieces up. I can, as I get, because this isn't going to be the only time I'm going to touch this code. I'm going to come back over this many, 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 many times over the next, months. So I can make those refinements. I can add those unit tests. I can, once I get a handle on what the system's really going to do. So what I was looking for here is an event to appear. Fortunately, there's 10 services to start when I start the entire stack up. So it can take a minute. It's beeping in my ear right now. And I'm sat watching a screen that isn't going to update. There you go. So there's my event. So now I have the source user identifier. Now on the changes side, right? This doesn't tell me who did it now. So now I can go and get who did it. And I'm going to do that so I don't forget. It's a little bit outside because it includes source user and events. It's a little bit outside that, but let's get that committed. There's a lot of stuff to change there. Update stack, update all to include source user identifier on events, main and integration. Because ultimately, what I'd like to have said is when I go and inject something into the table, it carries with it the context of who's doing that thing. So I don't have to pass this down the line and pass this around. It'd be nice to have said, okay, well, I know who's executing the outbots insert, so therefore capture that identifier. But I don't have that available, and I don't think it is possible using the AOP stuff. Refactor. I'm actually enjoying doing this style that this is actually one that Copilot offered when you ask it to write notes. I'm not going to do it for this one because I think there's way too much. Fixed WebSocket. Oh, I need to do one more thing before I go and do that. So I store the OSLOT configuration in the code base. So Ocelot doesn't like you having, so I had GraphQL and GraphQL mapped. Now the WebSocket version and the HTTPS version both go to GraphQL. So through the API gateway, I map this, and then the WebSocket connects through that. So the WebSocket's used over WSS or PubSub notifications. So I can actually subscribe to to GraphQL and actually be push notifications. So it's kind of like instead of using SignalR, I can wholly use GraphQL here for this piece. So I can actually push queryable objects down to the actual client, which is nice. Fixed WebSocket interaction with GraphQL. Dated routes. Yeah. Do have such WS. Ocelot doesn't like having the same routes mapped for schemes. That is pretty much a massive refactoring to dump into 81 files, but never mind. So let's go and look at the changes piece. So the idea here is rather than have my application code, the planning item, whatever, figure out changes, because again, that can be slow. And the thing I'm trying to focus on is speed through here. So when I save something, it saves into its database, and everything else is peripheral. So the most important thing is getting that data captured and not losing it. Everything afterwards can always be rebuilt. And at some point, I'm going to have to create some ETL pipelines to basically allow me to reconstruct everything below this dotted line, right? Changes actually kind of lives. No, changes lives here right this second, but notifications and communications is kind of going to live like on the, you know, on the cusp of both because there's going to be APIs for it, etc. But yeah, the idea is that these databases here below this line are completely disposable and they can be recreated. So I'm going to have to create some pipelines to say, okay, well, here's how I construct that. Read from this database, construct this data, read from this database, construct this data. And then I can basically, if I have to wipe out a component, I can run a pipeline to say, okay, reconstruct it from the current data sets. And it knows, oh, I need to query this and this and this. So I want to come up with a pattern, a set of tooling to allow me to do that. I don't want to lean into Kafka integration events at that point, right? To reconstruct because their state, um, so for changes, the actual change events aren't stored here; they're output from here. But their current state of the object is built off of this. So hash changes, etc. C# is your main language? Yes, C# is my main language. It has been for a long time. Yeah. Still learning, still not, I consider myself strong in C#, but there's still a lot of things that I want to learn and do. Things like source generators are still kind of new to me. In terms, I haven't really found a use case for them. I've never found a case for using, the more low-level components of the language, so I've never gone near them. But yeah, my main language. So the changes application, the way this works is the consumer receives the event planning item. So I've only done changes for um, planning items right now because that's the only really real thing I'm following. And what happens is this sends this off to an actor, and that actor is this. And in here, it tries to load up the item. And if it can't find it, it's going to say, oh, well, we're going to publish a new object. And the publish new actor, it has to check again. Do I actually know this? Because this system's running kind of asynchronously, so you could get two events for the same object. So the other one could have come through here already as this got queued, and now this exists, so you need to bail out again. So now I just tell the parent, like I say, okay, by the way, here, have this one back. I don't care about it. And then we add to the repository this version of it, right? And then we publish the change event. So this happens, right? So we say, okay, by the way, now publish this event, and this actually gets put out to the outbox. And yeah, so this actually publishes a change event. So what I need to do on here now is I need to attach. Which end are you doing? What do you mean? Which end? Will this stop if I do BBT? Front end and back end. Oh, I'm doing everything. So this is the server side. The front end is built in Angular. This is the front end for the application. But right now I'm focused on the this is the backend pieces of the changes. So right now I don't have any output for changes. So 2 weeks ago I got changes working, and that took me about 2 weeks to do to get the changes piece working. And at that point, I have changes working, but I have no way of telling people who care. But then I have no ability to add users, so I had to go down the path of adding the users in, which was its own uh, challenge. Now, one thing that I'm hoping is highlighted on the streams is, yes, I'm not going out and doing a lot of planning, because again, the planning item, when you're working on your own, planning is oftentimes a lot harder than when you're working with a team, because you can't really discuss ideas as easily, right? Um, but even when I am kind of planning out what I want to do, I've got an idea of where I'm heading here. I'm not just completely making this up as I go along. But even when I've got an idea of what I want to do, I'm still hitting challenges. I'm still hitting problems along the way. So yeah, so the users, now I can register. Now I can register a user. Now I can build out the notifications piece, so that I'm moving towards this very slowly. In that now these changes now need to flow somewhere, and what I'm still debating is whether there's a piece in between here that's kind of um, uh, more along the lines of kind of like the bright green, more along the lines of notifications and that publishes there. Don't need planning when you have logic. So the very short term goal is, once I've got the notifications piece running, I then deploy this application. So I'll then spend whatever time's necessary to figure out how to deploy this application to a local Kubernetes box. And I will then deploy the application and then use the application to build the application. So we will dog food this application. All right. So I'll go through the entire exercise of figuring out the project pieces of, right now, they're kind of deliberately aligned to what I've got as far as components go. So it might be that, but build the users out, put the review dates in, and then I'd actually consume that and prioritize my work based upon my goals. So the thing that I'm doing different here, the thing that I'm building differently, is my planning items here have a review date. That review date is a must enter, and that review date, as you can see, past due, upcoming. The idea is that that review date will keep chasing you. So if you enter a planning item and you say it's going to be reviewed by next week, and next week comes and goes, people will get told, if they've subscribed to that, by the way, this planning item's past due, right? And they'll get that in the email that they might want to receive of summaries like, this planning item has been left there. So it won't just go away. The user themselves, when they log in, will be presented with this list of, oh, by the way, all these planning items need to be done. It won't let them reorder this list for their own benefit. Search, yes, absolutely. I'll put search and stuff in here. But one of the things that I'm building that is different to other applications is this review date concept, and it's not flexible. So when I start using the application, this will be something to hold me accountable. And then again, the notifications aspect, the ability to say, okay, I care about planning items that are assigned to me, or I care about planning items that are assigned to me for this project, etc. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm building it around. So yeah, the this is all going to come together. See, I'm not sure. I'm still not entirely certain on the path here for. So let's move that there. Move that there. That this isn't going to be this way, where notifications is another producer to communications. Now, because of the way this is developed, these two may have an API attached to them as well. So everything in here gets a little bit more complicated. So how I arrange it, etc., is going to be quite the challenge. Yeah, I'm going to leave it as that for right a second. So now one of the benefits of using NoSQL. So my regular data stores are all based on SQL Server, right? So they have, table schemas, etc., etc., etc. The changes stuff, I don't want to tie to a schema because I want it to be very flexible. So my outbots, even though it presents as a table, this is a NoSQL document. My changes, these are different databases underneath Mongo. So my planning items collection is in here, and this is what the current state of the planning item looks like. So this is what it diffs against, right? It says, oh, here's what the version looked like. Here we go, we got to change. And now what I'm aiming to do here is I need to be source user identifier needs to be on here, right? Wow, it updated. I must have done something different. Oh, but source user identifier before after. Ah, interesting. Gotta go. Thanks for the stream, Mojo. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Have a great day at work. May the refactorings go well. Interesting. The order of the events firing is interesting to me. Why did that change? Why did that trigger a change though? Oh, because it's a. I get it why. I get it why. Okay. So integration event dot source user identifier. It's because there was nothing there before. Now it compared it for the first time, and then after that, it's fine. It's trapped it. This does what this is an ignore pattern. So basically, when I'm calculating the differences, I can actually set it to ignore certain fields. Those are fields that it doesn't need to check on. So the identifier, the tenant identifier, the event ID, the source, the occurred on, and the source user identifier don't matter to this. What I do want to do is in publish message, planning items, publish, changes that to in here. This is where I want source user identifier, I think, because that would be message planning item change event. That's identifier change type. That has a default change event with those fields on it. I think what I would need to do GUID source user identifier. And then we need public GUID source user identifier. Again, I'm differentiating ID from identifier. That's a deliberate act. I'm making sure I'm clear about it. Oh, because it's not a record, it's a class. That works. Now that should have broken some stuff. Yeah. GUID. Source user identifier. That is a GUID source user identifier. That should have broken this. That's fine. Then that requires the message dot source user identifier. But now that message, that publish message needs source user identifier. Actually, let's come back around on that in a second. So that passes that, passes that. So now that works, but that won't fully work because we don't send that. So now let's make sure we actually do send that. So now this is a record, GUID, entity ID, GUID, source, user identifier. Oh. I'm going to leave that alone for right a second. There's a problem with that. INumerable, difference changes. There's no point in this being anything but a record other than that single property. That should still work though. Entity ID, no. Event dot source user identifier and changes. Yeah. Yeah. This one, event dot identifier, event loss. For some reason, Rider will not let me do that, suggesting that that is a no. To list that. Differences.count equal to 0, then last event equals event. Okay, so that fixes that now. So now our source user identifier will get attached to our event. The reason I paused there is I have considered recently, this will be a massive refactoring, what it means to have the identifier as the key of the events. And I'm thinking that actually I need a little bit more on the key. I think I need to build an actual constructor key, which is kind of like tenant identifier slash identifier. Not just for collision potential. I mean, again, you have to be pretty unlucky to find a GUID collision, but more for the future, where I do need to start considering what Kafka looks like, right? How do I scale Kafka out? Kafka has partitions, and you can actually control the partitions. Given a key, if a key gets put in one partition, if I understand it correctly, a keyed entity with the same key will get put in the same partition every time. So it's not like it's going to get put in a different partition, but you can also control the partition. So I could actually scale out the system. So if one particular tenant was I couldn't do it that way. I'd have to do it slightly different anyway. But I could prioritize with some extra work and build out the partition. So I'm thinking I might do that refactoring. That's for later on. So let's run the stack up again. I think we're in a place where we can actually do this now. As always, any questions? You're more than welcome to ask. What do you do so you don't mistype something? Pay me searching everywhere to debug just for me to forget to put it in some random line. What do you do so you don't mistype something? I mean, I make mistakes. Mistakes happen. You forget things. There's all sorts of stuff. Right now, there's all sorts of moving parts for this, right? One of the challenges of building a system of this scale is, as a solo developer, is there's a lot going on. How do I keep track of all these things? I'm going to miss things. I try and write code that means that kind of is descriptive. This is a little bit of an anomaly. It's not quite as clean as I want it to be, but write code that is descriptive so you can see mistakes sooner. If you see something you need to like, don't I'll fix that later, right? If you can fix it now, fix it now. Okay, so let's go over here. So if we change the review date of this, we change that to, hi Sally, how you doing? 07, change that to 0725, right? That'll save. Now we have one in current. That's fine. We should see a change. Topics, changes. There you go. There's our change, and there's our source user identifier. So now we have who changed this thing. Now, the big challenge is if multiple changes go through and this system's down, what's going to happen is the person who made the last change is going to be the person responsible for making all the changes. But I'm going to accept that. I could audit that somewhere else anyway. But that person is going to get credited with making all the changes. That's the downside to what I'm doing that. But here you go again. Review date changed, last updated changed, right? Last updated will always change. Maybe I want to ignore that, but we'll work on that later. Okay. But that proves out the that path. So planning items, we got some planning items. There's our current. So again, this is the feed of the current state of the object, right? So even if I did, even if changes isn't enough, I could actually rectify it with this. So there's our source user. So this identifier here should be the one attached to the change. Yeah, and that's good. And just make up a GUID. And it uses, there's our users being added the other day. So now again, what I worked on the other day was, let's validate all that works still, is if I go to users here and add a user, and this is, need some more names, Joseph, Joseph at my.com. We add Joseph. It doesn't show in here right this second, but what we should see over here is we should see a user added. He says with confidence. There you go. There's our user. So Joseph got added, and we should, if I can remember where it is, we should be able to go to papercut. Yeah, that really just rolls off. And then we have, hello, Joseph, you've been invited by Jeffrey. Now we could go to here. Well, I'm going to test this properly. I'll go to, actually, we'll go to localhost 4200 registration code, and that would be Joseph at my.com. The password is sheepish4a. Going to need to do a pass of website security stuff. Okay, so now that goes there. That means I registered. I now sign in. It'll pop up the screen, and I can do Joseph at my.com. Sign in. Sheepish4a. Don't save that. Continue without passkeys. I put in the passkey stuff. This is asking, do I give permission for that? Blah, blah, blah. Project Liquid Skies requesting access to your TBD Gamer Inc. account. Yeah, accept. Now I'm in. Now I can see the planning items for this tenant. There we go. So that's all working. So what that's proven to me is that the messaging's working, the Kafka components are publishing changes. If I go to changes, there's no planning items there, so changes isn't going to necessarily do that. But I have there's no tenants, but there's tenant users. So Joseph was created. A tenant user should have been created. Right, so that's the association of Joseph with the tenant. So event source, tenant user was registered notification. Oh, that's wrong. Event ID occurred on source user identifier. So it's tracking who did it as well there. So I could watch changes of that. Those things are flowing, but more than that, MassTransit with RabbitMQ was working. So my RabbitMQ was also functioning there. I don't know if this is actually going to show anything very much. Look away, it's a super secret password. But RabbitMQ had a queue for the send and register user invitation, and that processed that event. And yeah, so we had an unact. So I must have to do something extra there. But it's unacknowledged, but it is handled. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, it looks like I just created another one there. I did. I refired it. I refired the event in RabbitMQ. That's what I just managed to achieve. So yeah, that's the process. So it's working. I can go through the application registration. All those pieces are working. Our changes are publishing. So the application is looking okay right this second. Right? We have things starting to flop. So the goal here now is I need to with those pieces in place, I need to be able to say this one notification. So I'm open to ideas, by the way. If you have, and I'm not trying to farm ideas. What I'm trying to do is rubber duck, but I'm also, if you, I want to make this a tool that people can use. So that's why I'm soliciting that thought. When I make a change, that change, we need to determine if anyone should know about it, right? So I think notifications are these two part of the same? Like, do they overlap? I think they do. So what I need to do is say, okay, well, now this thing changed. Notifications. Does anybody care about this? So notifications is going to consume the changes feed. And again, it's per entity, right? I have a The idea is that every entity topic will have its changes feed, so that that's produced out of changes per, rather than having one massive stream of changes. I want to make it that if I wanted to collect all changes, I could actually create another stream using Kafka to produce an actual. I could use KSQL or something to produce an actual join of those things, so you could know all the changes in real time on all the things if you wanted to. So let's get that committed. Okay. Include source user identifier on changes for planning items. Feed. Commit and push. And then let's get this branch completed and merged. So we at least end the stream on or we start tomorrow's stream in fresh work. Let's go to GitHub. It's over here. Let's do compare and pull. There we go. Hey, Kenny, how you doing? Source user identifier attached to all major events. Changes now includes remains change. Finance. How you doing, Kenny? So I haven't seen him today, but if you haven't been to One Liner Stream, if you like this application development stuff, if you like learning about, or not learning, no one's really learning very much, I would imagine, but if you like joining in on this stuff, if you like understanding application development from different perspectives, One Lion does stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday right now, and is building an application for financial management tracking, and has done a lot of work on the UI stuff and going through design. And I highly recommend checking his stream out. So yeah, and it's also just a great place to hang out. Arigato. Eating salmon noodles and fixing bugs on regular work that happen after migration. Ugh, fixing bugs. So yeah, it's like this sort of stuff. One Lion is an excellent streamer. Okay, so we check out development. So the reason I'm torn on notifications versus notifications being part of communications or vice versa is the responsibilities. So communications to me is the act of actually communicating with the user. So whether this be a SignalR client, whether this be a push notification, an SMS, etc. That's why I've made this quite a large circle. It seems that this makes sense. So if I need to send something out to someone, I should go to communications, whether it be through a command or it's an event that gets subscribed to. Because no, communications. I mean, mainly we should be telling communications, go notify the user. So my challenge is there's two aspects to what I want to build. Right. There, and I don't know how to quite, I can't draw it in here, can I? So let's do it. They really need to fix that mod default for that. Okay, I've got to try and figure out how to draw um, basically a matrix. Is it even a matrix? Okay. Two aspects. The first is I care about X. So I care about all changes to planning items. Let's be broad. Let's start with the broad. I care about all changes to planning items. Awesome. How do I want to be notified? Those two are slightly separate concerns. So I care about all changes to planning items. All changes to planning items, I care enough that I want to see a daily email. I care about planning items. I should have done. I didn't start full stop. Did I pull the code? I hope I pulled the code. It would be bad if I didn't pull the code because this is about to go really messy. But anyway, what I'm trying to describe is there's a few components here, right? It's not just a simple. Yeah, there you go. I hadn't pulled the code. I hadn't pulled the code. Stop, 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 stop. I love you, writer, but give me a button to say knock it off. Knock it off. Okay, there you go. I also need the GraphQL component started for this piece to demonstrate what I'm talking about. If only I could find it. GraphQL. Oh, and now gateway, because I've put the GraphQL component behind the gateway. That's awesome. So just start those two components and everything should run just fine. So we're in the application. I care about being told when a planning item is assigned to a project, right? So there's the refinement of what I care about being told about, which is why I'm kind of going back and forth on notifications being a thing versus all in communications, vice versa. So I care about the granularity. I'm gonna have to come up with some way of describing that because the options available to the user. I'm gonna have to code something there that is not necessarily hard coded, but is data driven. But I'm going to have to provide something that says, okay, well, when they ask for this, this is what actually that looks like. Very much a kind of a strategy against um, a change. So what changed is the first concern. Now I know that I need to tell them how did it get told, right? What do I align? I have to align the communication method with the change because they could say I want to know about all changes, but I want a daily digest email. I want to know about changes that include tenant management, planning items that include tenant management via um, my dashboard. And I want to care about things that are assigned to me for tenant management by push notification. Now, I think it's possible. I don't see any major issue in figuring it out. I just see a major issue in who owns what where, right? Do I make communications responsible for that workflow? Like, again, this is kind of, if I treat this as the channels, then no, I don't. Everything goes in notifications, right? Because everything is a subscription, and this knows which endpoint to call. And maybe that's the way I think about it, right? So notifications, because the way this is going to work is this is going to have an API layer, and that's going to be exposed just the same way. And I'm going to allow myself to configure it because it's not part of view, it's not part of planning, it's not part of attachments, it's not part of tenant management. It's a notifications concern, and then this would consume the changes and use its own rules to determine, okay, I need to, and this would send the right notification. Yeah, that's probably how I want to do it. Like communications, I think has an API, and that has the outbox or the inbox for the user. So any application bound notifications, there's two aspects. There's the message that goes to their dashboard, and there's their push notification down to them for alerts. I think that would just be a flag on that event. Yeah, I think I've kind of figured that out. Yeah, notifications is it. So basically, there'll be a notifications component here as well, and that will be responsible for consuming changes and figuring out and providing the API for the user to can set those things up, and then relaying those things and figuring out the changes. So figuring out if the changes affect anybody. This is going to be a massive challenge, but I think that given what I'm trying to achieve, if I can actually make that work, it will be a very useful component of the system, because you can ultimately, you need to control the noise, and being able to control the noise is part of what I'm focused on, right? If something is assigned to me for this project or this, I can flex this later on, but if something's assigned to me with a review date of a week and this, then I want to be push notified. It's not like the message goes away. You can mark it as read, but it'll sit in your inbox. Yeah, I want to be notified. And also emails, right? Uh, so you could say I want to be emailed, and I want to have an inbox, and I want to push notification if you were really wanting to, so you have the most possible noise. But I think that's where I want to focus is. So starting tomorrow, we're going to focus on building the. I don't want to start with the UI. As much as the UI is fun, I don't want to start with the UI. I want to start with having the application be able to. Yeah, yeah. I'm brain's whirring. I'm excited to do this code. It's going to be a very fascinating piece to work on. From a chat from an engineering perspective, this is something that has long since um, challenged me. Um, but I have a solution, a path down now, and recent API changes, etc. Really, all understanding of some of these pieces has really helped me open my mind to this possibility. So that being said, it is time to leave. Hopefully someone is streaming that we could go to. Okay. I'm going to raid uh, a fellow member of the community. He's just recently started streaming. He is learning. He's trying to grow. So he's just trying to tinker his way through Auth now, but I just want to send a bit of energy his way. Hopefully this doesn't make him too nervous. So I will apologize, but he's worth going seeing. He's a really nice guy, and it's a really great place to hang out. And he's just trying to learn and trying to build. He does swear, so the language changes. But yeah. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Take care. Have a great day, and I will see you later. Aiden, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. There is a Discord. There is links in the cards below if anyone wants to join the Discord. If you have any further questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, I'm always happy to discuss this stuff. We have actually started having Discord calls. In the evenings, we've had some Discord calls, which have been really good and interactive and a good way of talking about software more. So please feel free to join the Discord if you'd like. And yeah, so thank you very much for joining me. We'll go raid Emporium Guy. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Bye all. Yeah, there we go. And we need to put our ending screen up. The end.